Just 3 notes, right out of the A minor 7th chord. Let's add the last 2, the E natural and the G, and see some of the things we can come up with. Very simple, just taking the chord apart. Now you might say, single notes are okay, but what about some intervals? Let's make this thing interesting. Okay, once again, dealing with that same A minor 7th chord. Let's pull some intervals out of this bad boy. Now what do you have? You have thirds, you have fourths, you have octaves, okay, you have sixths, you have all those fun intervals. So let's mix and match a few of them and see what we can come up with, okay? Same A minor 7th chord. We're going to play a groove with some fourths and some thirds. Now let's add some sixths and some octaves for good measure. Same A minor 7th chord. Basically, right on an A minor 7th chord. So let me find my drum machine again and my bass player. Ah, there they are. We're going to put this into practice. It's going to sound something like this. Add a few passing tones for good measure. Like that. This can be a really fun concept to use. Let's mess with the 7th chord for a minute. Just an E7 chord. Let's put it in a row where we do the 5th, the 7th, and the root, with the root on top. And you get a chord something like this. There it is as a minor 7th. But let's move that 3rd up, and it becomes a dominant 7th. Let's have a little more fun. Let's take that 5th, and instead of putting it on the bottom, let's put it on the top, taking the chord apart. get the idea. Now, taking the chord apart is not only effective on simple chords like an A minor seventh, but you can use it, you know, in transition chords or as chords move along. We're going to take a simple chord progression. C major 7 to a B flat over C to an F major 7, D minor 9, F major over G to a G chord. Very simple progression, very, very simple chords. Now, if I were just going to strum along and not take the chords apart, it might go something like this. I'm going to play that same thing again, only this time taking the chords apart just as we did on the A minor 7th chord, using some thirds, some fourths, some octaves maybe, some sixths, some single notes, and just kind of sliding around a little bit. So as I play, watch for the intervals derived directly from the chords that I'm playing. Once again, the chords are C major 7, B flat over C, F major 7, D minor 9, an F major over G to a G major chord. I'm going to take it apart. Here we go. Just like that. Very simple, just taking the chords apart, adding a few substitutions here and there, deriving all the notes, the fourths, the fifths, the sixths, the single notes, the thirds, and the octaves from the chords that you're playing. I'd like to address a chord that might be considered non-traditional in funk guitar playing, but you're definitely going to run across it, and that's the 13th augmented 11th chord. Not a very complicated chord, but you might go, wow, how do you take that apart? You take it apart the same way you would take apart any chord like an A minor 7. Just analyze it in its basic form, one note at a time. You have the root, the G, the third, B, augmented 11th, C sharp, 13th, which is the E, E natural, and also the 7th you can use. And because it's basically an extended dominant chord, you can also use the 9th, which is the A. So I put together just a little progression, a little short thing, and you can hear a little way that you can take the chord apart. This is going from D minor 9 to the G13 in augmented 11th, and then we're going to throw in a A7 plus 5 for good measure. It goes a little something like this. you can take any chord apart and make it work in a rhythm context. Hello there. Has this ever happened to you?
God, oh man, what's that guitar part? All over my track.
Yeah, that used to happen to me all the time. Until I learned the concept of space. That's right, the concept of space. What you play and when you play it. Let's go back to our first groove example. Ah, that's funky. Now, I could just hammer through it and not acknowledge any of the other instruments in the track. But that would be pretty selfish, and I would end up not in the record, kind of like the guitar player did in our example earlier here. Let me show you what that sounds like and how annoying it can be. No, it's fun for me. The problem is that guitar part would never end up on the record because it doesn't acknowledge anyone else or what they're doing. The concept of space involves listening to other instruments and or vocalists and playing in the holes so that you complement what they're doing as opposed to taking away from it. Now let's take this track and suppose the producer says, you know, I really like that bass line. I really, really want to hear the bass line, so don't cover it up. Okay, so let's listen to the bass line and what's happening there. Now, where are the holes in that bass line, or rather, where is it that the bass is not playing too much? At the end of the second bar and at the end of the fourth bar. So if the producer says, I really want to hear that bass line, then stay out of the way of it and provide some rhythm just for a pulse, but if you want to stand out where the bass isn't standing out. At the end of the second bar and at the end of the fourth bar. That would sound something like this. The producer is happy because he hears his bass line, and he's happy and you're happy because he doesn't have to turn your guitar part down. Let's try the same concept with a different musical example. I don't know, maybe something like this. Sorry, I get carried away. Anyway, what did you notice about that track? First thing is that the piano is pretty busy, the drums are pretty busy, and the bass is kind of like meandering in there. So immediately you know that there's not a lot of space to work with. So you act accordingly. You approach this track like a baker who's getting ready to ice a cake. He doesn't need a pound of frosting, but it does need a little sweetener to finish it off. So that's how we approach this, using the same concept, the concept of space, looking for the holes and accentuating the parts where there isn't so much happening. Let me show you what I mean. The majority of my playing was done in bar 4, where the piano was kind of easing back. He was playing very rhythmically in bars 1, 2, and 3, and I kind of just wedged myself in just to add a little sprinkling of rhythm. My time to shine was bar 4, when he was taking a break. It's not so much important how much you shine, it's that when you shine bright. And the only way that you can shine bright is by not stepping on everybody else's toes. You wait your turn, and that's when you go for it. The concept of space is always important, but particularly in situations where there's a lead instrument or a vocalist. Let's say you're doing a recording session and the vocalist is singing right here. She's singing pretty high. And you're playing right where she's singing. You're going to go in the control room, the producer's going to play it back, and he's going to say, gee, the guitar is right where the vocalist is singing. And since it's the vocalist record, guess who wins? You got it, the vocalist, and he turns your part down. So the concept of space not only deals with acknowledging other instruments rhythmically, but other instruments and vocalists with regards to range as well. Don't play on top of people. If they're singing high, you play low. If they're singing low, you play high. Stay out of their way. You get your space, they get their space, and everybody wins. So we were talking about the concept of space as it pertains to other instruments in a track, or maybe a lead instrument like a saxophone or a vocalist. What's also very, very, very important is how it relates to other guitar players. And I was out in the neighborhood and, looking across the way, and I found this guy, so I figured I'd drag him in. The writer of Ghostbusters, the guitarist on countless, and I do mean countless, hit records, even maybe almost as many as me. Okay, maybe a few more. Mr. Ray Parker Jr.
Thank you.
Yay, how you doing?
It's a pleasure to be on your videos.
It's a wonderful thing, wonderful thing. Okay, so many of you would not know this, but a lot of my success is this guy is responsible for. Not only teaching me a lot of guitar licks and things like that, but also sending me out on a lot of jobs. And once I
might say once I sent them out on, they never called me again, but that's okay.
Just because I had it like that, you know. But,
Right.
but seriously, so what we're going to do is try to simulate or demonstrate better what it would be like to play with another guitar player. And my advice to especially the aspiring guitarist or the younger guitarist or the maybe beginners is you always look to the person with more experience to take the lead. Don't be arrogant. Don't walk in talking about, well, I got the groove, because there's always somebody that's had the groove a little bit longer than you. So you always see what the other guy's going to do first. You always give him that courtesy. So we're going to start off that way. I'm going to see what the other guy's going to do first, and we're going to light it up like that. I'm going to give you a little drums here. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, because we guitar players, we like our space. The space is just as important as the notes sometimes. That's not it.
That's not it, no.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
So let me explain what just happened here. And if you can't feel the funk, you need to check yourself. But let me explain what happened here. It was a call and response thing, like the old, I want to say, slave situation where you'd hear somebody call and you'd respond, and they'd call and you'd respond. He took the lead, and I followed up. We were in two different ranges. Remember earlier we talked about the concept of space as it relates to range, dealing with the vocalist? Same thing is true of another guitar. If he's playing high and I'm all up here,
Sounds like this. Now, a lot of people do that. They think they're funky.
but they're not
They're
funky. They're getting in the way of each other. Now, it sounds a lot better if he's up high and I'm down low. You get the idea, right? Up high, down low. Okay, the concept of space with another guitar player. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ray Parker Jr.
Thank you. Where's my guitar at? Oh, here it is. Track 22. Yeah, see, that's right. This kid's good. He must have bought the Paul Jackson Jr. The Science of Rhythm guitar video. Oh, yeah.